What was ruined for everybody by one person? Story 1. Back in the Middle Ages when I was a child in Detroit, the electric company gave out free light bulbs. You kept the burnt-out ones in a bag, and when it was full, Dad would take it to Detroit Edison and exchange them for free ones. Then some guy who owned a store, I remembered it as a pharmacy, sued because he couldn't sell light bulbs, and that was the end of free light bulbs. Reply. Back in the Middle Ages. Momo, my son. 'Tis I, your father. I beseech thee to retrieve thine glowing orb, whose light that once burned bright and brilliantly throughout our humble hovel has been lost and now leaves our halls with a sombering sadness. Once ye have acquired yon sphere of glass, place it within this satchel of its fellow, fallen brethren. Your quest shall then be to deliver this satchel and its darkened contents to the lords that reside within the tower upon the hill, whose works harness the very light of the sun itself. Present this bag to the Master of Light, and lo, shall he, ever so humbly, trade ye for thine expired globes, replaced now with cleanly crafted baubles of crystal clear glass that house a light most radiant. Upon your return, ye shall be rewarded most handsomely with sweet meats and confections I have recently acquired from a humble merchant of foreign lands. Go, my son. Huzzah! Story 2. The Toothbrush Mustache. Made famous by people like Charlie Chaplin and Oliver Hardy, ruined forever by Hitler. Reply. I think the origin was shaving with gas masks on in the trenches of World War I. Story 3. The Shoe Bomber. Reply. Don't forget about the guy who tried using drink bottles to smuggle a bomb. Story 4. The kid who jumped off of 7th floor of a building here in Turkey because he thought he was a Pokemon. They stopped airing the show because people thought it was bad influence on kids. And Pokemon was huge back when I was a kid, so pretty much every kid back then was devastated. Reply. Why didn't he just try to fly up from the ground like any normal flying Pokemon instead of jumping off a balcony? Story 5. The World, by the parent who was supposed to be watching their kid at the Cincinnati Zoo. Reply. The timeline was permanently altered one fateful day in 2016. Story 6. Your last meal before execution in the US used to be whatever you wanted, until one guy ordered an 18-course feast and didn't touch it. After he was executed, a law was passed saying all death row prisoners' last meal would be the same as all the other prisoners. Reply. To fix something, last meals in the US weren't always what you wanted. Most states had their own restrictions, cost, locality, weirdness, but this specific guy, Russell Brewer, is the reason Texas SPCIF Cali got rid of the last meal. Story 7. The Swastika by Hitler. It was once a symbol of peace in parts of Asia. Edit. As a reply pointed out, the swastika is of course something different from the Nazi Hakenkreuz, although he still appropriated it to fit his agenda. Reply. Also, the name Adolf. Story 8. There was a coffee shop that everyone loved that did the thing where if you buy 8 drinks, you get the next one for free. For 2 years I went there religiously at least once a week. Then one day, they told us that the stamp cards were no longer good because someone had stolen the stamp and had been abusing it by stamping their own cards. I just didn't like the accusatory tone when they explained to us what happened. I felt like I lost something that I made an effort to earn, although only maybe 5/8 of one drink, and they were punishing the loyal customers. It was just terribly handled. I never went back after that. The once bustling coffee shop that everyone loved closed down 6 months later. Basically, they probably killed their business over one person who maybe got a few free drinks at most. Reply. They wanted to end the stamp program and blamed a fictitious customer. There are about 800 ways to solve someone stole the stamp, the traditional one being get a different stamp. Story 9. Someone installed an AC incorrectly in their window at my in-laws' building. It ended up falling out and killing a 2-year-old girl, and now everyone is banned from using window ACs, in certain buildings, not all. This was in Scarborough, Toronto. Story 10. The sushi terrorist that licked things on the conveyor belt of Japanese chain Sushiro for clout. making them stop doing the conveyor belt thing. TBF, he wasn't the only one, but the one that comes to mind. Reply. I was in Japan from April 2022-2023, so when this happened, and the running belt was belting all the way, just as usual. There were more scandals after this one came out, and let me tell you, for like 3 to 4 weeks after this came out, the stores were empty. On another note, most people order their sushi with a tablet anyway, even before that. Why take the sushi that has been on the belt for who knows how long when you can just order it and get it freshly made within 1 to 2 minutes without paying anything extra? Story 11. Pokemon cards at my school. Some kid lost a battle and, as playground rules dictate, he had to hand over his losing card to the victor. However, this was a particularly rare card that had suffered a surprise loss when his opponent whipped out an even rarer and more powerful Pokemon to battle it. The kid never expected the defeat and had no intention of handing the card over. A fight broke out and teachers got involved. Being this was one of a multitude of Pokemon-related fights breaking out at the time, the teachers, at the end of their tether, gave the boy a choice. Hand over the card or Pokemon gets banned in the school. And that's why my school had no more Pokemon from that moment on. Story 12. I hate to be dark, but, as a gymnastics coach, people like Larry Nassar and my own coach. As a gymnastics coach myself, I have to be extremely careful how I touch a kid in a sport where I have to pick them up and move their body around and stuff. And obviously, I'd never purposefully put my hand in an inappropriate spot, but if I accidentally do while saving a kid from falling or something, I have to profusely apologize and feel anxious. 99% of the time, the kid doesn't even notice I grabbed them or something. Or, they don't care because they're happy I saved them from snapping their neck. Some gyms ban coaches from giving a kid a hug and whatnot. We have strict rules in the gymnastics world where 2 or more adults have to be with a kid if they are alone in the gym. Which, hey, I support. When I train male coaches, I tell them to be extra careful since they are more likely to get accused. Groomer's gonna groom, but if a guy accidentally brushes a girl's boob when he spots her, it shouldn't be world-ending. With the abusers that people know of primarily being men, male coaches are watched like hawks. I can get away with a gaggle of little 4-year-olds tackling me and laying on me for a group hug. A male coach has to be very careful. But, it's sad it has to be like that. I wish I could text a kid myself, set up a private lesson, meet them at the gym alone, we work on stuff, their parent picks them up. That's not reality. People should just not be weird to kids. Adults should be respectful and not abuse their privilege and a child's innocence. Now, people have a terrible perception of the sport I love because of the abuse myself and others faced. And, I don't blame them. Reply. I'm a guy and I used to teach preschool. It's a very similar situation. I was always very careful when how I interacted with kids because I didn't want to open myself up to accusations. There were plenty of times I was alone with an upset child and I called another teacher in mostly as a witness just in case. The day they installed cameras in every classroom was awesome. It's really sad because such attitudes push men away from the field, but a lot of kids don't have good male role models and really want one. There were so many students who gravitated because of it. Story 13. Not sure if it's been said, but Kanye ruined Kanye for everybody. Story 14. This goddamn question. Here are the top answers, as usual. Hitler and his mustache. Hitler and the swastika. Hitler and the name Adolf. Richard Reed and taking your shoes off at the airport. Kevin Spacey and House of Cards. Pee Wee Herman and porn theaters. Reply. Yeah. Pee Wee is what ruined porn theaters. They were hella classy before he happened to get caught jerkin'. Story 15. I know, Shitler is the popular, fit in with the cool kids, answer. I'm going a different direction. The asshole who poisoned Tylenol in the 1980s and made it acceptable to make everything, not even just medications, very tamper-proof, but also pretty damn user-proof if you have any dexterity limitations at all. Reply. Leeching off your comment to say, children and medication. The Venn diagram overlap between people who need painkillers and people who can't easily open childproof bottles, and not children, is way too big. Worse is the folks who are overconfident in the qualities of childproof bottles and thus don't secure their medication properly from grabby little hands, figuring that the kid can't get them open. Story 16. That one guy who operated heavy machinery after taking prescription drugs has ruined it for the rest of us. Hey, stop. You're awesome. Subscribe for more. Yo.